Today we are experiencing a true taste of the golden era of motorcycling because we have got this 1974 Suzuki GT185. This is a two-stroke masterpiece, and we thought it would be rather fitting to take it for an English country pub lunch and tell you what we think of this awesome motorcycle.
I'm dying.
I just want to interrupt this sequence because my old man is a little bit stupid and he didn't turn the petrol switch the right way. He turned it the wrong way, so that's why it wasn't starting. I think it's been a rather long time since he's ridden an old bike, but he's also a little bit mentally impaired, so we'll let him off for that one.
Oh shit. Please start.
This video has been sponsored by Bikeshaw. Both myself and the old man have been using them for years. So whether you've got a new bike like us, like the Moto Guzzi V7 or the BMW R18, or you've got a classic bike like this GT185, then click the link in the description, no matter who you are, where you come from, what kind of bike it is, whether it's custom, whether it's standard. Click the link in the description and you can get a tailored quote for you. With Bikeshaw, there are a number of add-ons you can choose if you wish, like breakdown cover and cover to ride any other bike, which is ever so handy.
What's going on? Choke's on, fueler's on. I think. I don't know which way around it goes. It's got an arrow, but is it pointing to the way it should be, or is it pointing to the way that's off? Quite easy to kick. Whoa, fucking fuck. Boiling hot. Boiling hot. So, keys on. Choke is on. Fuel, I think, is on. Pointing to reserve. So it should work.
Every time someone presses subscribe, the old man's intelligence increases ever so slightly. So if every single one of you from this video press subscribe, maybe, just maybe, next time he'll learn how to start this motorcycle. And talking about next time, we are planning on doing a comparison between this and a brand new Japanese 125. It'll probably be a Yamaha because we've got a Yamaha dealer nearby. Obviously we can't get hold of a 185 new because they don't make them anymore, but it's going to be really interesting to see the differences between a 50-year-old bike and a brand new one.
The golden era of motorcycling was really the 1950s, 60s and 70s. This is 1974. As it went through the 70s to the 80s, things started to change and then things started to go wrong, mainly because of intervention from governments on emissions and noise and brakes and ABS and all the different safety measures that governments successively have put into place have spoilt the pure raw experience you get from a motorcycle of the golden era. And this still has that feel about it. It's got a very 70s style, as you can see. We'll go into the styling in a minute. But in those days, this is a two-cylinder two-stroke. They make a lot of smoke. They wouldn't be allowed today, but it does give you a very exciting, very enjoyable, very engaging ride. And we'll go into that in the video.
Now, a GT185 will roughly set you back around £4,000 in the UK, depending on year, mileage. They could go up or down from that price, but that's a sort of rough average cost. But you could get this motorcycle for less than £5. And if you want to find out how you can do that, then there is a link in our description box below this video where you can head and find out how to get this bike for less than £5. I would certainly take my chances. But this particular bike has only done 6,263 miles since 1974. That's 125 miles per year. That is nothing. And if you look at the condition of this bike, I mean, I'd be pretty happy if this was a 3-year-old bike with the condition of it. The fact that it's 50 years old is remarkable. It really has stood the test of time. I don't know how much of its time it's spent in a garage because it's not been ridden that much, but that means it really is a fantastic example. I need to go in it. Oh. Funny enough, this exact blimmin' corner, I hit the back of someone on my 50cc when I was 16, and they claimed against me, so that ruined my insurance for 5 years. Oh, that's lovely. The smell of a two-stroke is just addictive. It really is. Oh, look at those dials. Oh my God, beautiful. God, they used to make things properly, didn't they? It's got very skinny tyres, so I need to be a bit careful on the corners. It's ever so light. You can flick it around. Blimey, it's light. It's quite wet or damp today, so oh, I'm sniffing because my nose don't stop. It's so cold. Can't feel my fingers. I mean, this has got way more go in it than a modern 125. Let's see how we get up a massive steep hill. This is fantastic. Lovely, 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 lovely. Oh, that's a pothole and a half. Keep the revs up on a two-stroke. They're so revvy, you feel like, oh, I shouldn't be revving it that high, but I'm still 1,500 away from the red line. Red line's at 8,500. Still feel the power right up at the top. Fantastic. That is good fun.
So what do you think of the Suzuki GT185 two-stroke?
It might be the first two-stroke I've ever ridden, actually.
No, you won't.
Not two-stroke. The first Suzuki I've ever ridden.
Okay.
I've not ridden a modern one.
No.
But I really liked it.
It's interesting, isn't it? 50 years old, that motorcycle. Can you believe it? I kind of think today it's more equivalent to a 125, but obviously the 185cc motorcycle in this country is dead because you can ride a 125 on a what do they call it?
CVT.
CVT. So you have L plates. Most people, nobody takes the test on a 125. But the next step up would be a 185 or something like that, or a 250. But nobody gets a 250 because to get a 250 you have to get an A2 licence, and to get an A2 licence you have to do the test on a 500 or 600cc motorcycle, which is absolutely ridiculous.
And you're allowed up to 47 horsepower. So once you've done that test, you think, well, there's no point in me buying something with 25 horsepower. So in this country, it does make, you know, even stuff like the Royal Enfield 350s a bit redundant for the younger rider, because they think, well, I might as well just go and get an Interceptor because I could still ride that within that licence.
Yeah. So it's a shame, isn't it? Because those sort of smaller capacity bikes, like the one behind us, are absolutely perfect for everyday riding and city riding and commuting.
Yeah.
They're not too powerful, they're not too fast, they're quite safe, very manoeuvrable, very cool. Sounds nice, doesn't it? You've got that sort of two-stroke power band when not much happens low down, then it suddenly kicks in, it goes, and it goes.
And it revs quite high, doesn't it?
It does, actually, yeah.
Like 8,500 or something. No, 9,000.
Yeah, it's surprising. So it's quite nippy. I mean, it's not any faster than a Royal Enfield Classic 350, but it
delivers its power in a completely different way.
It does, yeah. You get a bit of a surge where it does feel faster.
Yeah.
And then you get a bit below and a bit above where it feels slower.
That way, yeah.
So,
typical two-stroke.
I've just been to the dentist this morning. Weirdly, the last time we came here, I went to the dentist.
Did you?
Yeah. My mouth is only just recovering from the anaesthetic, so I can't feel my tongue, can't feel my lips. So I have to eat very, very carefully. Can't feel my lips.
A bit wonky.
This pub here, we've been here a couple of times. We've been here a couple of times too, haven't you? On your own.
Yeah.
£8.95 for fish and chips, which isn't bad in this country. But
that's half price.
Half price.
Yeah.
And fish and chips used to be a cheap meal. You used to be able to get fish and chips for £3, I remember.
Yeah. Even the chip shop would be as much as that, though.
Yeah, it would be.
So this is probably nicer.
Yeah.
So.
And we're sitting in a nice place.
Yeah.
Lovely pub in a little village. What's it called?
Liddington.
Liddington.
It's quite a well-known village. I think it was in a BBC countryside documentary once.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice place.
It's a very nice place.
But the prices in the UK are going up and up and up because we still haven't recovered from India because this in India for the two of us would be £1.50.
Yeah.
150 rupees.
Not that you'd get fish and chips in India. But
you probably can somewhere.
Well, maybe. But even, you know, a proper meal is so cheap. Even like a chain restaurant, I think we mentioned, we went to KFC one night, we had fast food because we were in a rush and we needed to eat something.
Yeah, we did.
And we got a 15-piece bucket. 15 bits of chicken, chips each, a Coke each, and it was £6 for both of us. That would have been 20 quid in England.
Yeah,
so
it's got crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, even fast food is expensive here now. Anyway, we're going to finish this. We're going to move the bike and talk to you about this interesting motorcycle.
This motorcycle is undoubtedly beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. I love the styling of this bike. And when you look at 1970s, 1980s bikes from Japan, it really sort of highlights how hideous they've become. Because there are very few bikes these days that actually look nice. And I think, you know, modern classics are the only bikes, in my opinion, that do look nice. There are a few bikes from different categories that look okay. But I think we need to start looking back to the past to get inspiration for design, because there's nothing wrong with the way these bikes look. They're practical, they're beautiful, and everything is a function as well as a beautiful thing. Whereas now they seem to just stick plastic on a bike that's all pointy and let's make it look like a wasp, or let's make this one look like a dung beetle. It's just hideous. I'll stop ranting about modern bikes. This bike, however, got a beautiful chrome front mudguard, which is a good size. Still got a little bit of muck on the bottom of the frame there. Beautiful spoked wheels, a nice disc brake on the front, which is a little bit vague, but it does the job. On older bikes, the rear brakes are usually better than the front brake. I don't know why that is personally, because I'm not from this era, but if you know, let us know. The dials are stunning, absolutely beautiful. A lovely analog dial, a nice colour, a nice dark blue. And I love the fact that when you ride an old bike, especially the rev counter, it feels like it's alive, and it's almost working with the engine. It really is alive, whereas a modern one is so still. It almost doesn't feel like it's part of the bike. Nice handlebars, quite narrow. Switch gears are very 70s. Lovely wing mirrors, very nice. Beautiful round front headlamp. Lovely shaped indicators. A nice shaped tank, very small. This bike is actually really quite small. The foot position is quite nice. It feels a little bit high. Got very narrow wheels. Beautiful chrome twin exhaust, because this is a 2-cylinder, 2-stroke motor. You've got your kickstart here, which is a very nice feel when it comes out. Lovely. It's all part of the experience. A beautiful bench seat. Scoops up slightly at the back, but it's nice and padded, it's comfortable. A lovely chrome rear mudguard. I like these lights, they're rather big, but they're quite stylish. So I couldn't really fault the looks of this bike. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and the engine, I mean, it's a work of art. And I think that's probably another point, that engines, whilst a thing of function, the whole point of an engine is to propel the bike forwards. But back then, they also looked beautiful, and these days I think we've probably lost a bit of that beauty in our motorcycles, apart from my one, which has a beautiful engine, but it's rare, I can tell you that.
Now, this bike has one real benefit. Anything over 40 years old in the UK at the moment, this is 50 years old, it's road tax and MOT exempt. So that's a big saving and a lot less hassle for you to have to worry about. Size-wise, this isn't a big bike like Darcy said, but it's perfectly all right. It's very, very light and very easy to manoeuvre. And it steers very well, so it's a perfect city bike, really good for commuting, great in the country lanes, really lovely to go out for a country ride like we have today, to a pub on a Sunday or something. So a bike like this is nostalgia. You're living in the past, and it's just like going back in time in the best way possible, and it is absolutely gorgeous. As we said, this is a 2-stroke. Now, if you're not quite sure what 2-stroke and 4-stroke mean, basically on a 2-stroke, every time the cylinder goes down, it's under power with a spark and ignition, so it pushes it down. So every time up, it's expelling, every time down is power, so it's 2 strokes. A 4-stroke does 4 cycles, and only one of those movements is power. So you get a different power band on a 2-stroke. It gives you more power and more torque. For the size of the engine. So this is only a 185, and it gives the same pretty much figures in power and torque as a Royal Enfield Classic 350, for example. So 2-strokes have that advantage. I mean, you get them on chainsaws and things like that, don't you? But they rev very high, but the power band is very different. So although it has the same figures, and you can't always go by figures, you've got to go by feel. With a 2-stroke, you get not much at the beginning, and then it suddenly surges, and you get this acceleration, you get a power band. So if you're looking at the rev counter, say from about 4.5, 5,000 really, it starts to liven up. So between 5,000 and the start of the red line at just over 8,500 RPM, that's where it wants to be. That's where all the power and torque is, and it really does go. Above that, it kind of flattens off, and up to that, it's not so good. So it's quite a steep power curve on a 2-stroke, but if you ride them in that power band, then they're really great fun to ride.
Now, this engine produces 21 brake horsepower and 20.6 newton meters of torque, which is high up in the RPM range because it's a 2-stroke. You have to rev it out, which is quite fun. You get to sort of 6,000 RPM and you think, it's screaming, oh, surely I can't go any further, and you've got another 2.5. So it's great, it's brilliant. It only weighs 137 kilograms. It's dead light. You can push it around like it's a bicycle. That's not much more than the new Honda Monkey that we just had. So it really is light. And they claimed back in the day that this will do 80 miles an hour top speed. And I think you probably would get close to that on a good road with good conditions, but we've got neither of those today, so we haven't got anywhere near that. Maybe 50, 60 we did. But it did that with no fuss whatsoever.
So, I hope you enjoyed this video about this wonderful nostalgic motorcycle, and it's not the end of this bike. As we said, it's coming up with a comparison between this and the modern bike. That won't be the next video, because on Monday the next video is going to be our long version of our India trip, all put together with some unseen footage. It's absolutely phenomenal, so you want to sit down, it's quite long, and watch that because it is very interesting. And then after that there'll be this compared to the modern motorcycle. And we've got some more interesting classic bikes coming in the pipeline, some real beauties, and one of my favourite bikes of all time. I'm not going to tell you what it is, see if you can guess, but you won't believe it. Absolutely incredible. So we'll see you on the next video.